Hey, everybody.
Hey, Sister Tracy, how are you?
Hey, Trace.
I'm good. How is everyone?
I'm fired up.
Fabulous. Thank you.
That's how I am. I'm fired up. I'm
Oh,
fired.
I
I'm
know, right?
fired
We're
up.
live on Facebook, y'all.
And I'm fired up live on Facebook on Super Tuesday here in the LV 702. Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready for this? You better be ready.
Woohoo! Let's go. Yes, we are ready.
Heck yeah. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our conversation today. If you're able to join us on the Zoom, please log in. Let's have some conversations about what's going on in the Clark County School District. And let's just have a good time learning about, well, I don't even know if we want to say it's a good time because it's just all in shambles all over the place. But anywho, I'm Kamilah Bywaters. I'm an official candidate now.
Woohoo!
Official. My
All right,
name is
there it
up on
is.
this
There
ballot,
it is.
okay? And guess what? There's three other names on the ballot. So y'all, they coming through and they coming hard. But guess what? We are going to win this race. Why? Because we're going to work hard. We're going to start knocking doors on Saturday. So if you are able to come out and join and canvas with me, I would appreciate that. I'm also going to be getting in some more work with my family and the little ones. We're going to be knocking on all the doors that we can to make sure that we're connecting with voters. Listen, there's one thing that's happening out here. I see people with all these signs out and ain't never, and I'm talking about my district. I'm talking about District E now, don't. I'm not talking about y'all's district because y'all out there got stuff going, y'all doing the right things. But over here in District E, you got people putting up signs and ain't never seen them. So this is what we're gonna do. Kamilah's campaign, Kamilah Bywaters, we're going to be out here talking to voters, making sure that the voters' voice is a part of this conversation. And that's one thing that is so important for me is that we have community involvement, that our school, our teachers, our students, administrators, our teachers are involved in what's happening in our school system. I went a little bit over on my introduction because that got me hyped because I just got done looking at who filed today, and I'm gonna watch it every single day. But go ahead, Rodney, and introduce yourself, and then we'll have Tracy and Michelle if they want to talk. Go ahead next.
Hey, everybody. My name is Rodney Smith. I am here supporting Sister Kamilah Bywaters for School Board Trustee, District E. I just got through watching some Super Tuesday stuff, got me so fired up. I had to go for a walk to calm myself down, but I'm still fired up because I am 60 plus years old. I actually grew up a portion of my life in the Jim Crow South in the 60s. This is before the Civil Rights Act, before the Voting Rights Act. That means I was born at a time that if I would have been of age, I wouldn't have been able to vote. That's right. And I'm still living. So this is real to me. And we don't have to pay poll taxes, at least not this year. Now, maybe next year. But we don't have to pay poll taxes. This is our opportunity to exercise our civic responsibility in using our vote to speak for us in who we want to represent us. That's what we have in America is representative government. And this election is about the people deciding. But in order for the people to decide, you have to go vote. The reason why Sister Kamilah does this show is she is demonstrating what she's going to do later, right now, and that's engage with the people. And that's why I'm here on this show with her, so she can get a word out, so you can share with her, get to see who she is, build some support, and then let's make this thing happen. Let's get somebody on the school board who grew up in this district, who is a product of the CCSD. She went to UNLV. She has a child in this children in this school district. She's one of you all. She's a part of the community. She's educated, she's smart, she's determined. Oh, and her side job is she's a mom. So she does it all. Let's get somebody like that that really has the interests of the children at heart into that seat. So once again, my name is Rodney Smith, and I am, if you couldn't tell, I'm fired up. Oh, before I forget, She is, as she said, an official candidate. If you've never ran for office, you have no idea what goes into running, the decision making that you go through before you throw your hat into the ring, the amount of sleep that you're going to lose, that you'll never get back, the amount of time spent sometimes going and meeting people that you otherwise wouldn't know. That's all a part of campaigning, is getting to know your constituents. But she got an early start because she's been doing this show. So come and join us. Let's go for this ride. Let's make it do what it do. And in the process, let's go knock some doors for Sister Kamilah Bywaters, right? Let's write some checks. And I'm going to tell you, I ran. And when the gas tank was getting mighty low and I could smell those fumes, and I got that donation for $5 or $10, that's that many more houses that I could drive to. That's that many more events that I could go to. That many more constituents that I could engage with. So if all you have is $5, $5 is still more than no dollars. So let's write those checks. Let's knock on those doors, and let's get on those phones and calling up folks and get Sister Kamilah Bywaters elected trustee of District E.
Thank you, Rodney. Tracy?
I'm going to just echo everything that Mr. Rodney has said, and echo everything that you've said, but we're here as Team Kamilah Bywaters. We're sidekicks, Bunny and Clyde, and we have to flip the board in November. We absolutely have to flip the board. So Kamilah knows that she has my support 1000%. And there's some other candidates that we're trying to get on board to represent, to flip the school board in November. So anything you hear about these down ballot races, if you hear us talking about them, please just trust us in this process for this time. We're at a critical stage in our democracy, literally. This is not to play with, but this is some real stuff that's happening in our schools and in our nation at this time. So thank you all for the opportunity to speak, and I'm going to put myself back on mute.
All right, and feel free to talk whenever you want. General, did you want to introduce yourself, say something?
I sure can. I am the general. I am here because I believe in Kamilah. I believe in Kamilah because she believes in our children. She believes what's best for our children. When I moved here, I saw that I felt that there was a major problem in our school system. And we've had lots of ups and downs. Right now, we're in a down cycle. So we need somebody in office, in that position, who believes in our children, who believes our school system could rank up there with the best in the United States. We simply need good people in position to get us there. And I think Kamilah can get us there. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Mr. Rodney is so right. I spent one day kind of driving around town, and I'm talking like across town, going to different events, also picking up checks. And I'm like, okay, this is
Right, all right.
And gas in Las Vegas. Listen, y'all know that thing is off the chain out here. I don't know what's going on. And then like when I go to a conference, I went to a conference in Colorado, and the gas was like between $2.90 and $3. So I'm really confused about what's happening here in our state with gas prices. But your donations help me tremendously. And let me tell you how those of you who have donated to my campaign, even if you were only able to donate $20, that helps me. So I was able to order 1,000 palm cards that I will be picking up this week.
Right.
That I will be able to pass out to voters this weekend on Saturday. Probably by the end of this week, maybe this weekend, I'm going to be ordering street signs. I'm going to get some big ones, y'all. I'm going to get some big ones. So your donations are helping me to get my name out there to more voters. A lot of the leaders in the state know me, and that's good, but I need to connect with the people who have not been that engaged in school board meetings, who haven't really heard my name. So it's important that I reach out to these individuals and let them know who I am. Let me tell you, For all the opponents out there, and this is me, it's time to go in. If you're running against me, you're not going to be able to win this race with just putting up a street sign, and you're not going to be able to win this race with just putting up a bunch of dollars. I am going to work hard to ensure that I touch as many doors as possible and make sure that they love me, and they will love me. Now, the haters out there, the people that don't really care too much for me, and I'm totally fine with this, are the people that I hold accountable. Okay? If you have ill will to say about me, then that's because I've held you accountable in your seat. I've held you accountable about educational matters. I fought for kids. I fought for parents. I fought for administrators and teachers in this state. So for the haters, that's y'all. But for the people that love me, I'm here for you. I'm here for your students. I'm here for you as a teacher, as a parent, as an administrator. I'm here for you as a support staff. So the people who love me, y'all gonna love me. And let me tell you, once we flip this seat, the seat's gonna be flipped. And my goal is to work really hard. One, and I always say this, I don't want to be the voice for the community. I want to be the voice with the community. So thank you so much for your support. There's an event tomorrow, Hispanic in Politics. So I am looking forward. My goal is to make it there. Former trustee Young will be there, and also former trustee Danielle Ford will be there. So if you're able to join Hispanic in Politics meeting, please do. And there's one other person on that.
What time and where?
You know what? As somebody else talks, I'm gonna look it up because I have it. I got to get the information. I think
It's Sylvia. It's Sylvia.
And
Sylvia Lasso.
Do you have the flyer? Do you know what time it is tomorrow?
I believe it's at 9.
Okay, I'm gonna get the information too to confirm it. But if you can come, please come. Let's support Hispanic in Politics, Mr. Fernando. Yeah, so thank you so much for those. I just wanted to let you know that those who are donating to my campaign, you have got me 1,000 palm cards, and I'm gonna get more. But I wanted to start there for Saturday. If you are able to join me, for those of you who have said that you would like to support in another way, I need you on Saturday from 9 to 12. We're knocking on doors. We're gonna get out there, drop some lit to our community. If you can join me on Saturday from 9 to 12, please do. I'm gonna make sure you have some water and some snacks and all those things. I'm gonna take care of my volunteers now. And donations. The donations also help me to make sure that my volunteers are good and good to go. They got a snack, a chip, and all that stuff. So if you can help, please, I'm going to put the flyer out for that tonight. We're also going to start doing text banking. So your donations are going to help me to reach more voters through texting. I'm also going to do some personal text on my own. So there's a lot of work to do, and we need all hands on deck. Anything else anybody wanted to say before I'm going to look for that flyer really quick? You're on mute, Rodney.
Each election is important. This election is no different. But think about this though. How often do you get a chance really to engage with any elected official? And for those of you who are on Facebook Live tonight, if you have any questions or comments, please put them into the Facebook Live chat. For those here on Zoom, we got you, we see you. Let's keep the discussion going. But some people don't think that, well, what does the school board trustee do? Why is this so important? And I was thinking about some states like Florida and Texas that says that Black people got skills by being slaves. I listened to the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina talk about fascism and Nazism, and doesn't necessarily believe that what happened to the Jews in the Holocaust is true. And I said, wow, are we teaching accurate history in the Clark County School District? Because if we're not, that's partially because the trustees that we have aren't pushing for it. They're not pushing the legislators for it, to pass bills to make sure that it can happen. And I just want you to see how that was interrelated. The school board administers the laws created by the legislature, but the legislature depends on the school board to let them know what laws to pass in conjunction with their constituents. So every office, regardless of the position, is important. But if we don't have people on the school board, who's to say that we get the wrong people on the board, and next thing you know, they're saying that they don't want anybody talking about African and African American history. We don't want to talk about Rosa Parks. We don't want people to know, since it's Women's History Month, that the first person to really play a guitar and make it popular for rock and roll was not Elvis Presley. It wasn't Jerry Lee Lewis. It wasn't the Stones or Eric Clapton. It wasn't even Little Richard. It was actually a woman named Rosetta Thorpe, a Black woman. See how significant that is if you know the origins and the history of the things, and you see the role that we've played in so much, it makes us a part of this country. But when we are excluded as well as others, then it separates us from this country. And then it makes it easy for people to say and do things about us that could be harmful to us all. Education is important. Truth is important. We need people on the school board who's going to protect the gains, but also strive for more gains. We cannot afford to be asleep at the wheel any longer. We have to really be proactive, because those folks on the other side, they are very active and they're coming. And whatever good things that we have, they'd be very happy to dismantle them. So we have to have people like Kamilah Bywaters as a bulwark against turning the clock back that so many people before me, and even me just poquito, have worked on to get us to where we are.
Absolutely. And if you've been able to look at the board agenda for tomorrow, in the board docs, they give one of the board responsibilities. And one of the responsibilities is to ensure that the strategic vision and the mission and the purpose of the school district is being upheld. And that's a very important conversation when we're talking about curriculum, and it's specifically the cultural history that we're saying is pretty much absent in a way that is implemented with a way that really honors our students and their cultures and their unique backgrounds. But the school board becomes very important in this process because they hold the superintendent accountable. And one thing that we have lacked above the many things is that we have had a majority vote on our school board that have not had a transparent board and or held the superintendent to transparency, and have not held each other to a level of accountability, or the superintendent with accountability to say, hey, this is an important mission or vision of our school district. How are we implementing it? And we know that there has been a work in the legislature with a former assemblyman, rest in peace, Munford, who put forward a bill to address this. But now there is a gap, and which is sometimes called like a research to practice gap. It happens in academia where there's all this research that says, hey, these are good practices, but it doesn't get to the field. And we can kind of say that there's a legislative gap as well, where, hey, there's some good laws out there, but it's not being implemented in our school district. So that's where the board becomes important, because as we're thinking about choosing a leader, and as a leader will be chosen, the board's responsibility is to ensure that the superintendent is being transparent and held accountable to the vision, the mission of the board. I think that is absolutely important. And really quick, I do want to shout out the individuals who are on our live today. Thank you, Veronica. She's in the chat. We love you too. Denise Johnson is on, so thank you for joining us. She says, I love you. You work so hard. We love you too. And also, I'm going to just say who's on and then go back and say what they're saying. And then somebody else was on here. So some of the comments that have been made so far, Veronica asked, what is text banking? So text banking is when you purchase a program and we can enter in the back end, we can put all of the numbers of individuals in my district who are voters, and we would put out a message, and the texting program will text like 100 people at one time saying, hey, I'm Kamilah Bywaters, will you vote for me? And just kind of give them my information. So instead of us individually texting one person, a text banking opportunity or program will give us an opportunity to reach more voters by texting one time and reaching more than and reaching however many voters we can afford, because you have to afford to be able to text people. So Veronica said that we need the school board to represent the community, and you're so right about that. Okay, also Malik Jenkins, thank you for joining. And then Denise Johnson said that Tracy is a great person to work with, and if I can help, I will help. I can do something from home. So that's really good, Denise. I'll make sure that we give you something to do from home. And so going back to, okay, that's frozen for a second. So going back to the board, it's the board's responsibility to keep the superintendent accountable. And now we have this big debacle happening. I know that we continue to bring this up, but one thing that is absolutely important to me is I did kind of shift the topic a little bit, because whenever there's an important board meeting, it is a goal that, a goal not only of myself, but for the people on this call, it is important that our community is engaged and understand their role in decision-making. So we know that we've been through this change. We're looking for a superintendent. After Tracy and I went through the board, so there's a work session tomorrow. We went through the agenda. There's some alarming, to me, this is alarming. Appointment of superintendent. That's an alarming phrase. And
so, Sister Kamilah, just want to be clear, because I thought we had a work session last week, a week before last, where they picked Brenda Larson Mitchell as the interim superintendent. So what are we doing now?
exactly. So here's what's alarming in the reading. I'm trying to get to the board agenda. So it says like strategic planning, the agenda item 2.01 says strategic planning, appointment of superintendent. That's alarming. So after I went through the board docs, it does give us like a process of, it provides the board documents, which are the documents that give you the background to what the agenda item is about. They provide information about a local and a national search. So they give us like how much those cost. There's information about choosing, how do we choose the best superintendent? There's a superintendent search suggested process and timeline that was a part of the board docs. There's information about the board responsibilities in choosing a leader. There's information about, what else? I've downloaded all of them. There's information about all of this. But for me, what is alarming is, to me, the language of appointment of superintendent is not, it can be kind of, I mean, it just sounds like, here's what I think the okie doke is. The okie doke is that they want Brenda Larson Mitchell to be the superintendent. And they're trying to make this process so overwhelming so that the community can just say, oh, well, the easier thing to do is just to pick Brenda Larson Mitchell to be the superintendent. So this is why this conversation is so important. And it's important that the community, that the school communities, that teachers, administrators are a part of this conversation, so that we can put fuel to the fire to ensure that our majority vote on the board does not like do a coup on us and pick someone that the community has already said that they do not want. So there's a lot of work to do. We already know, and I'm not going to be shy about this, but I've already put on record that got a lot of pushback from this from Lola. I was like, look, y'all don't need to pick the superintendent, as a matter of fact, because we don't trust you. And listen, your girl was mad.
Ooh.
She was like, you can't basically tell trustees what to do. And I'm thinking, all right, but there's other people who have this thought and who do not trust this board to make a decision about a superintendent. So yes, it's out there, and we're not the only ones who think that. Now, obviously, the sitting trustees have the right and are within their power, of course, because they're trustees, to make these decisions. But the ask is that, just wait, because technically you're going to be picking a superintendent that a new board will be
Exactly.
Saddled
with.
Exactly. So, I mean, she was really hot about that, and whatever. But the bottom line is that the community does not trust the decision making of the majority vote on this board. And as we can see, there is a desire to really pull the wool over the community's eyes to make Brenda Larson Mitchell, who the community has come out about, that they do not want to be the superintendent. So this is why school board races are so important. And as you can see, this school board race scenario is not only here in our state, this is happening across the country. So it is absolutely important that we're engaged in the school board races, and they're way down on the ballot ticket, y'all. So when you're doing your ballot, make sure you go all the way down. You finish the whole ballot, because this is how important school board races are, okay? We have experienced in our own Clark County School District what can happen when we have a leader who holds themselves accountable, not to the school board, but to outside corporations. Okay? If you are a person who is sick and tired of the status quo, and you want to disrupt the status quo, disrupt corporations getting all of our taxpayer dollars, if that is you, a vote for Kamilah Bywaters is that I'm a person who will disrupt and ensure that our students have what they need first, before you're over here trying to send money to these big corporations out here who don't care about what's happening in public education in our state. It is absolutely important that we are choosing leaders in education who care not only about Nevadans, but care about our students, their families, teachers, administrators, support staff, because they are the foundation of this district. And why voting, and let me say this, voting in the primary, y'all, the primary is in June. Listen, I can win this race in June. So let's just win it with 50% plus one of the vote. Let's just wipe it all out and be done with it. And then guess what? We can help other candidates get in office. That's what we can do. School board is important because they make critical decisions about your child's education. And if you don't have a child in the district, they are making critical decisions about children's future. And it is important that we choose board members who get this and who are on board with transforming education in our state. So please, 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 if you've never written a letter to the school board, this is a perfect opportunity, not to only write a letter, but to give your idea. What do you think the superintendent search should look like? There's some couple options going around. I think one thing that's a good idea that happens in higher education is that the community gets an opportunity to ask questions to the people who are submitting their applications or who are up for consideration. I think we should implement that. Whoever's applying, let's have a community conversation where we can actually ask them questions and see what their thoughts are, what are their ideologies, what are some of their plans. So being a part of the decision-making process is absolutely important, and you can do that. You can send a letter to the school board. I'll make sure that I send out the information, the email that you can send. We have posted the trustees' emails before, but I can post it again and just give an idea of, listen, the trustees don't know it all. And they're looking sometimes for, and it should be all the time, they're looking for ideas. So if you have an idea, put it out there. Let the trustees know, like, hey, let's try this out. Let's try this plan. We're on the phone. Tracy and I are on the phone with trustees, and they're like, let us know. What is it? So please know that your voice really does matter. And when you say that it don't, or you don't feel like it's being heard, listen, there are times when it is being heard because they don't have any other ideas. You have to remember that the trustees will get thousands of pages of documents in a couple days that they need to read. I'm sorry, but even the speediest reader is not going to be able to go through all of that in a couple days. So the community is very important. And that's why it's important to vote for people who will value your input, If you start voting for these people who you never heard from and only got up signs, we can't trust that they're going to value your input. You need people on the board who are going to value your input. So when you say, hey, I have an idea, not only are they listening, but they're saying, hey, here's an idea that we can think about. This is how public education should be. It's everyone's input involved. So it's very important that you are a part of that process if you want to write to the board. I do want to say that in our last meeting that we had a person who was on our Zoom, and they said, Tracy and Kamilah, because of that Zoom, I sent my first letter to the school board. And the person said, I am so empowered because of that now I'm sure they're probably going to send more letters. But please know that there are trustees out here who are looking for your input. There's some who could care less. Listen, we have voted people into office who could care less. They don't care because their agenda is not people-focused. Their agenda is self-focused and ensuring that they get a superintendent. And this is why we cannot allow the Lolas and the Evelyn Garcia Morales to lead in the way that they're leading. Their focus is not people-focused. Their focus is selfish. They want to ensure that we have a superintendent who is still connected with the great city schools. Y'all, if you look at the agenda, they have a professional development that's going to be led by the Great City Council of Schools.
Sister Kamilah, tell them a little bit about the Great City Council of Schools and why this is so important.
So the Great City Council of Schools, and you can Google this and I'll give you a link. So basically the Great City Council of Schools is a cohort of people and leaders, and specifically they have a cohort of people they're trying to prepare to be superintendents. And what they do is they look for large urban, well, I don't have to necessarily say large, but urban school districts that they can kind of turn around in their thoughts, is turn around those districts.
Turn them around, go into what direction?
So basically turn them around in regards to their thought is to improve their achievement.
But in reality.
So in reality, the reality is that this Council of Great City Schools is a machine that wants to tap into public education dollars. Public education is $1 billion industry. That's why you see people wanting to come to education to get contracts and get funding, because the schools have the money to provide contracts, purchasing awards, funding to outside entities. So in my opinion, the Great City of Council School has built this cohort of superintendents who can so-called change the dynamics of education, which we already had one, which was Superintendent Jara, and he did not fulfill the mission of turning around our school in 5 years. But what they did was they get a part of this consortium, Great City Council of Schools, and they have vendors. They have vendors that they want superintendents to utilize. So like that Silly Willy paper program that was tutoring and it cost like $55 million, that came from the vendors that were a part of the Council for Great City Schools.
So in other words, it is a massive grift at the expense of our children's education.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
they create a framework and a funnel of superintendents to get in these positions in school districts, often in urban corridors, where they pretty much milk the districts.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
there is no measurable improvement in the districts other than how rapid the money leaves the district in the grift. Sister Kamilah, are these folks also supportive of charter schools as well?
I've done research on them. I'm trying to see if they have talked about, I think I have seen some conversation about charter schools, but I don't necessarily know what their stance is on charter.
And also, do you know if they're partially funded by conservative groups and individuals like the Koch brothers?
That's a good question. You know what? So now I got this from, I believe, I'm not going to say this because I don't know if this is the right, because
and we can come back to this later.
Yeah. So because there's two different, there's like a Chiefs for Change group, and then there's the Council for Great City Schools. And one of them is like around in the Jeb Bush arena.
Yep.
And former trustee Danielle Ford, if you ever have an opportunity to watch her podcast, she really breaks down, because I'm going to definitely give her the credit for being the investigator in this. She really breaks down and follows the money and how it's been utilized and the players. So I'm not there yet where she is. I'm doing my research to follow where's who and who's where. But I would follow her for sure. But one name that has come up in her podcast from her information is Jeb Bush.
So the reason why I mention that is because oftentimes funding is important in what monies we get to help get the programs that our children need, to get the equipment that they need, to refurbish schools, to build schools. And what's happened is, because this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And right here in Clark County, I remember when we were open 2 and 3 high schools per year. 2 and 3 high schools per year. Each one of those high schools would often have at least 2 middle schools open up as feeder schools. And then they may have elementary schools. Well, those buildings cost a lot of money to build, right? Well, those contracts go to somebody. And then it's not just a contract to build the school, to put the electrical systems, the HVAC systems. That's a subcontract. There is a whole bunch of people, and I'm just talking about on the construction and maintenance of schools. There's a whole lot of people eating off of those contracts. And that's okay for people to get paid their worth. But is it the people that should get the contract, or is it a specific group of people that are being funneled this money through these folks who come to the Council of Great City Schools, their network? And because the superintendent is in charge of operations, are there cost overruns that are necessary, or is this another way for the grift and to line their pockets? And let's also mention that the consultants that superintendents often bring in, those consultants get paid real dollars. For the amount of money spent on consultants to come into the CCSD, our performance has not risen. But those consultants still got paid, and many of them were on the vendors list for the Council of Great City Schools. This is another reason why the people who are on the board now should not be allowed to elect the next superintendent, because that means that for the next 5 years, the school district is stuck with that person that was chosen by trustees who are no longer on the school board. Lola Brooks is not running again. A couple of other ones, Katie Williams is not running again. So they can pick one of these people and drop them on us like a bomb in Gilead, right? And we're stuck with them. And the reason why I say 5 years is because Nevada has this crazy rule, Clark County, that if a superintendent stays here for 5 years, it's like they can almost retire from the job. So we're paying superintendents that were like 3 superintendents ago, we're still paying them. And our school system, our education, our children have suffered because of them. Our coffers, our tax dollars have been wasted because of them. And that money should have gone to our students and their performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Tracy?
Okay. I need to kind of change the subject just for a second here, because this is about you in District E. But I have to put it on the record that those of us in District C, we're coming for you, Evelyn Garcia Morales. And I'm saying that because I'm getting calls while we're having this conversation where she's reaching out to Black folks now to put them on boards and committees, this, that, and the other. Well, you took Black folks off of committees and boards, and now all of a sudden, because it's the election time, you don't want those of us who run against you. So we're coming after you. So we're going to flip District E and we're going to flip District C. So, okay, I had to say that, not taken away from you, because I'm a little hot with her.
Tracy, this platform is not only, this is the people's platform. So if that's what needs to be said, then that's what we need to say.
Okay, well, thank you for that. But yeah, so Evelyn's got a whole can of other worms going on right now. Those of you out there in Facebook land. So yeah, I'm ready for that piece of lady there. But everything that you and Mr. Rodney have discussed is right on point. And we just need for the community to be more engaged. I think this platform is helping. I know between us with LaVapsi, we've been trying to get people more engaged and to connect and to understand. But for whatever reasons, it didn't happen. And I think now, because we're at a turning point where this is critical, and like this is truly us having to defend our democracy. And if we don't get this right in this election cycle, from the White House all the way down to these local ballot races, we're going to be in trouble. So community, I hope you're listening. I hope you get out and work with whichever candidates that you want to support, whether it's financially, whether it's door knocking, whatever it is. This is serious. And I know every election cycle we say this election is the most important one. No, this one literally is, especially for people in my age range. Like, if we don't get it now, we're doing a disservice to our children and our grandchildren. So my fight is in District C, but Kamilah knows that I definitely have her back in District E. And then we know we're going to flip B and A, right? Yeah, A and B. So guys, please find out who your candidates are in your areas. Everybody's name is not going to be on your ballot. Ask questions before you start to vote. Know who you are voting for, because of the boundaries, the redistricting, everything has kind of set things up a little bit differently. But that's all I wanted to say. But I agree with you and Mr. Rodney on everything about the chiefs and whatever they call it. They're all about money. And the charter schools are involved with all of that. With Betsy DeVoe, if anybody goes and does any research, all of that stuff is connected. And our charter schools here, basically, for the most part, they have the same philosophy. And if you think your kids are getting a quality education in those charter schools, I would beg you to go in and to check just for your own purposes. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. Oh, and I did want to say a shout out and a hello and a love to Miss Belinda Denise, Miss Veronica Melton, Miss Jennifer Thompson, and Denise Johnson. I love you guys back, and Sandra Owens. Thank you guys for tuning in. I love you all.
Heck yeah, we love you. And okay, so there is a question here. Veronica asked, so how do we stop them from selecting an appointed superintendent? The first way is just how we were able to, so we have slowed some things up. If it wasn't for the community reaching out, and I mean the community was calling trustees, emailing trustees. For Evelyn, we was literally trying to call best friends. And I'm stopping there because I'm just like, really? Like, we're literally trying to call people best friends and family members and people connected to like be like, hey, can you talk to her? And none of that even mattered. She still voted the way that she wanted. So that shows you the kind of person that we're dealing with at this point. That's not a person who's community focused and who genuinely cares about what, like, taking the community's voices in consideration. So how do we stop this? We need to be involved. When we're not involved, then there's no highlight on the people making the decisions. So when we're involved, we can sometimes get a trustee to offer a motion that's different than the motion that they have. Trustees will try to, try to put a halter in the plan any way they can. So when trustees see, and typically it's not all of them, some people are really firm with what their vote is going to be, but not all trustees are firm on their votes. Some trustees may be a little nervous about what the community thinks about them, or what their business community thinks about them, or what the leaders think about them, because you're going in a whole different direction than this holistic voice, right? So being involved means that you're writing letters, you're calling trustees, you're emailing trustees. If there's a rally, you're showing up. If there's a school board meeting, you're showing up and expressing your concerns, because what that does is that puts them on spotlight. This is what we believe as a community, but this is what you believe as a board. So that's how you start the momentum, by putting your thoughts and ideas out there and letting them know if you oppose, what you oppose and what you do not oppose, what you oppose and what you agree with. So that's one start. I want to give a shout out to my cousin Belisha for tuning in. Also, my sister Ashley, thank you for tuning in. And I think we shouted out everyone else.
So just keep in mind that the first step to any type of political engagement is to know the issues. Go to the place that's sharing the information. You could find some stuff online. Go to the school board meetings. You would be surprised at how many empty seats that there are at most school board meetings. Now, if it's a hot topic, yes, there'll be more people there. But in general, it's kind of almost ghost at some of these meetings. When I first came to the city in the early 80s, I used to go to the school board meetings because I figured one day I'd have some children that would probably be in the CCSD, and I wanted to learn how the system worked. And if it needed help, I wanted to put that help in then before I had children. And I started learning. I started going to the school boards as well as visiting some schools. Things were a little different back then. And that really opened my eyes, is that most citizens have no idea of how the school board works, what the superintendent's function is, those types of things. So the first step would be go to some of the meetings, go to the websites, talk to people like Sister Kamilah. But what changes people's minds, though, is when you a group of people write letters, preferably emails, when people basically phone call them and make sure that they know what's on your mind. Because school board trustees are people too, and they only know what they know. And some of them probably have tens, if not 100 schools. That's a lot of schools to be involved with. So it's our responsibility as citizens to help them out. We are their brain trust. So let's share that brain trust with them, but let's fill that brain up with something to share with them. So we're coming down to the end of the show. So Sister Kamilah, you want to make sure that you get out those things. There's a meeting tomorrow. I believe that's a work session.
Yes, so tomorrow there's a work session at 4 p.m. and it will be at the Edward Greer building. Hold on one second. So where they normally have their we're back at the normal boardroom.
That's the one at Flamingo, correct?
That's the one at Flamingo. And on the agenda tomorrow is the conversation about the superintendent planning and also their professional development with the Great City Council of Schools. There's also another agenda item where they denied one of the trustees, Trustee Cavazos wanted to put an agenda item on the agenda, but it was denied. So you can see all of that. So it's important to come out to this meeting because we want to make sure that their process for the process that they're going to determine for the school, for the superintendent, that it's transparent. It includes the community, and I'm talking school community and the broader community, and that they don't try to do a coup and appoint Brenda Larson Mitchell because she's the interim. The community has already spoken that they do not want Brenda Larson Mitchell, and we have to ensure that it's an informed decision that includes all of our voices. And right now, there's a few on the board, Lola and Evelyn, who are, Lola's pretty much directing and guiding Evelyn and training her to kind of move this ship forward in that direction.
So for people who may not know who Brenda Larson Mitchell is, she was actually sort of Jara's number 2 person, or if you watch Star Trek, would be his number 1. And she was the one that was actually in charge of the operations of the district. So Jara had overall responsibility as superintendent, and then he has various deputies. And Brenda Larson Mitchell was the person that was in charge of actual operations. Well, I'm not saying she's good or bad, but what I am saying is our district was failing, and she was the person that was in charge of operations. So will she do better if she is in charge of everything? Or will we get more of what we have been getting? And what sense would that make to get rid of one person to replace them with a clone to get more of why we replaced that person? So that's something for us to consider. Maybe we should do a search. Well, here's the thing about the search. The parameters for the search would be set up by the people who are currently there, who gave us Jara, who would probably give us somebody else like Jara. So there needs to be a full search, and preferably with new trustees. The superintendent has left. We're going to have new trustees elected this November that will take office. What is it, in December, Kamilah? That will
January.
Okay, in January, and then there's no rush. She can be acting since she's already in that position as acting. She could be the temporary person. Excuse me, but let's do a proper search and make sure that the people have an opportunity to share who they would like to see. And it's not necessarily the person, but it's the qualifications of the person. Are they a good fit for this district and where we want to take the district? Can they fill that role?
Right. And 2 points I have based off of your conversation. And some of the conversations that we have, people are like, well, why not the deputy? Wouldn't that be the person next? And I really think we have to disrupt that notion that the vice president, the second person in line, the person who helped, the deputy, or whoever would just automatically get that position without being vetted. And in this case, like you said, Mr. Rodney, we have the evidence that that team was not the best team. That was not the A team for the district. So we have to be willing to disrupt. And just because this is typically what we do in society is go with the vice president or the second person, we have to be willing to disrupt that and try something new. Like at this point, what do we have to lose? Second
Well,
point I wanted to make is that here's one thing that is absolutely so interesting to me about the leadership on this board. They actually contradict themselves. If you go and look at the board docs, we know that, and this has been brought up at meetings. I know that I've said this, that just because Brenda Larson Mitchell has this phenomenal resume doesn't mean that they're the person for the job. So it's apparent that the few want Brenda Larson Mitchell. But in one of the articles that they sent, the first line of the article says, the person with the qualifications may not be the best fit for the school. I'm done.
we need a real search for a person, and going back to that vice president concept. The reason why in American government we have a president and vice president is the president is the head and the vice president is the continuity. So if something happens to the president, the vice president can step into the job to continue the job that is already being done, right? That's the continuity of it. That's the continuity of government. In this particular case, Jara was a non-elected individual that was appointed by the school board. And this school board, we're saying, has not been good for this district. So that means that Jara's deputy, who he selected, is there to carry on the continuity of his programs. Well, if we got rid of Jara because his programs were failing our students, do we really want to have the person to come in to carry on the things that he was doing that has proven not to work? We could have just kept Jara. So there's something for you as we're about to wind down the show. There's something for you all to think about. Do we want to maintain the continuity of failure? Or do we want to look for some fresh blood and start a continuity of success with someone new to go along with this new school board that Sister Kamilah will be a part of?
Thank you. And we've passed our time. And some people probably, and that's okay. Some people probably think that well, I know for a fact they think that I'm being harsh sometimes. But listen, y'all, we cannot play with our students' education and their livelihood. We have students who are struggling. And at some point, we have to take more attention, ensure that we have a leader who cares about the upward movement of our students so that they can be successful. And listen, because someone got mad at me out here on these streets because they think I wasn't advocating enough for their values and their goals. We are educating our students. This is a part of educating our students to be good leaders. Good leader, so that when they get out here and start leading, they're making good decisions that are grounded in compassion for humanity. And that is also about ensuring that we have leaders who also are compassionate about humanity so that our students will lead with that ethic. So we don't have students out here who become leaders who support genocides. Okay? This is why I'm passionate about education, because it's not only about grades and academics. The reality is that not every student is going to be the best student. Not every student's going to make A's and B's. But we have a responsibility to ensure that we are helping to produce students with a moral capacity to do good in this world. And if we can't get on board with that, then we are doomed. Again, I'm Kamilah Bywaters. I'm running for the Board of School Trustees for District E. I'm committed to this. I am passionate about students. I am passionate about their families. I am compassionate about administrators and the teachers that work within this district. Of course, our support staff who are the backbone of this district. A vote for me is a vote for you. A vote for me is a vote for your values. A vote for the things that you believe are important. A vote for me is a vote for holding me accountable. If you listen, the people on this call will check me and they're a part of my life and a part of my circle because I value feedback, critical feedback. And if I'm out there doing something crazy, you can imagine that they're going to pull me to the carpet and say, okay, let's think about this. Are you sure? Okay. So I've surrounded myself with people like that because that's how my dad raised me to, one, respect my community, my elders, and those who are, with me. So a vote for me is a vote for you. And I look forward to serving this community. And any way that you can help support my campaign and get me elected, please do. Please know that we have Tamika Henry running in District C. Any way that you can help to support her campaign, please. We need to support her campaign so that she can be in that seat that Evelyn is in. Evelyn is not for the community. She has shown that. We need to get Tamika in office so that she can be the voice for District C. All right. Anybody? Those are my last thoughts. Thank you for joining, and team. Listen, I'm all over the place right now. Team, go ahead and say your last thoughts.
Sister Tracy?
I would just like for our community to stay engaged, and if they're going out to the board meetings, to start taking people with them. We need Black folks to be at the table. We need Black folks to speak truth to power. We have not been represented at all at any level, even though you'll have some people to say that we have been, but we have not. I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way because this is not directed at anybody. This is just something from a historical knowledge base and it's factual. But anytime we have Black folks saying that they meeting with the superintendent, any superintendent that we've had in the past or currently, there's usually some kind of kickbacks or something that's going on. And when you historically look at what has happened to us as Black people, our students, our teachers, our administrators, the way that our parents are treated, we're the ones that are being hurt. We're the ones that are losing out because we are divide and conquer in our own community. So we need the real soldiers who don't have a problem with speaking truth to power and calling people out on their foolishness when they see what they're doing. We need for that to come back into order right now. We've lost a lot of values of what our ancestors and our forefathers have done for us. And I would hate for us to lose that. And that's why I put that information out about Evelyn. We're coming for you, Evelyn. So just don't go trying to get people put on committees and boards now, or you want to start reaching out and having conversations because while you've been on the board, that is something you have not done. So I thank everybody for being on Facebook Live. I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Kamilah Bywaters, for the platform every Tuesday. And you know that I have your back at 1,000%.
Thank you, Tracy.
All right.
That PhD, y'all. I'm supposed to be working on it right now. My professor gonna be like, if this girl don't start writing.
All right, so we won't hold you too long. General, you have a quick one for us. And those of you who are on Facebook Live, please write some comments. If you have questions about the show today, or if you just come up with questions during the week that's totally unassociated with the show, but something that you've experienced, add them to that. Sister Kamilah, Sister Tracy, they do scrub this. They go back to it. They look at it during the week. We had over 200 listeners last week.
Oh, wow. So, awesome.
Yes. So that is a lot of people. So we know that you're listening, and thank you for engaging during the show. We would ask that you would share this with your friends, share this with your family members and neighbors. so that they can get involved and know what's going on, know about the working session tomorrow, know how to engage. And if you're not sure how to engage, put that in the chat, put that in the Facebook, so Sister Kamilah and/or Sister Tracy can share the benefits of their experience and their knowledge. General, did you have something? Okay, she's probably multitasking. So again, tomorrow is the working session at the Greer Building on Flamingo, and then this Saturday, Sister Kamilah Bywaters will be out door knocking, getting in those steps, getting that exercise in. Come on out. Let's be a part of the team, and let's make this thing work. And let's get Sister Bywaters, help her meet more people in her community, because she simply cannot meet them all by herself. Her area is way too big for that. So come on out and help her reach her constituents so they'll know they have a fighter for them and their children that's running for school board trustee District E.
Kamilah, before we get off, will LaBapsy be having a meeting Saturday at 1?
Yes, we are. So LaVapsy is having a meeting about the superintendent search and how you can be involved. That is at 1 p.m. I'll make sure to post those flyers again and the Zoom link. So from 9 to 12, we're canvassing. And then at 1 p.m., we have the Facebook Live, or we're going to have our Zoom call about the superintendent search. Yep. So we're doing that. All right. So please join in. And we want to hear, for that LaVapsy meeting, we want to hear your suggestions, because we need to let them know that, hey, we're paying attention. Here's our suggestions, because they're not doing the town halls. So we're going to do it. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening and joining in on our conversation. Kamilah Bywaters, I'm running for the Board of School Trustees in District E, and I'm going to end it on this. Let's win District E. Have a wonderful night, everyone.